given the ball away, and Danny Webber has an opportunity here to cause Cardiff a problem. Into the box, into the net, and is that the goal that sends Sheffield United to the promised land of the Premiership? Danny Webber puts Sheffield United a whisker away from top flight football.
So welcome back to Inside United, where we talk to Sheffield United players past and present. And as you can see, joining me today is none other than Danny Webber. Hello, Danny. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Paul. Glad to be seeing the back end of lockdown, albeit well, this cross, but we're all right. Thank you very much.
How much have you been missing the football? Obviously, not playing anymore, but just from a watching it point of view.
I think it's a double whammy. First and foremost, you miss not playing. So that's like, okay, you dealt with that 3 years ago, and then now it's like football taken away from you, full stop. I think you think even if it's the Premier League's off in the summer, or so, there's always some kind of football you can, whether it's a tournament or friendlies, or you never miss football for that long. And obviously with the work that I do now, you're always involved in football anyway. But it literally just majority of it just ground to a halt. So I've missed it a lot, but always kept my finger on the pulse.
Because if I'm right, you obviously do punditry work, but are you a football agent as well?
Yeah, that's it. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, again, you touched on it there. I did punditry work. I do bits and bobs across different platforms, MUTV and different Talk Sports and BBCs at different times and so on. But yeah, mainly what I do is, I'm trying to impart some of my good and bad experiences and help people on their journeys, really, because it's not as rosy as everybody would like to think from the outside in for players. And, depending on what stage of your career you're at, if you're a youngster trying to break through, there's different challenges to getting in a first team, sustaining it, and then once you achieve, there's different challenges to sustain it. So yeah, there's so many different challenges that I just don't think they're as easy to navigate as you might think.
Well, perhaps come back to that a little later on, but obviously you're on to talk about your time at Sheffield United, and it's an interesting one for me because I remember being stood in the corridor at Bramall Lane as you walked down it to walk into Neil Warnock's office. I got a call. I was working at BBC Sheffield at the time. I got a call to say that we're going to sign a player. You might want to get down to Bramall Lane. So I got there and you arrived about 10 minutes later. I'm pretty sure you were wearing a brown leather jacket, denim jeans, white trainers, and a baseball cap and a very big watch. I remember that vividly. And you went into Neil Warnock's office for about, 20 minutes, half an hour, and then we got to talk to you afterwards. But I'm interested to know a bit about the lead up to the move, really, and how long that was on the cards from your point of view.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because obviously having played against Sheffield United a few times for Watford, I always, the one person that stands out to you at the time when you go to Bramall Lane is Neil Warnock, because he's always on the sideline. He's there, and he's from the opposition's point of view. You think he's angry. Always he's angry. So some of the shouts you'd hear, he'd be like, "Get the number 10 or get the whatever it is. Get Webber, stay on him," and all the little details you'd hear. I always thought to myself, "I'd never play for him. Never play for him." And that was my initial outside-in view on it. Plus the fact that it was almost like a striker's graveyard. The amount of people that came in and left. So how it came about was I was playing for Watford, and before the game, we played Preston. So Saturday, I've got up thinking nothing about it. Gone and played the game against Preston. As I pull into the car park, Preston lads are getting off the coach. And the lads have gone, "Oh, where's you going to Sheffield United, are you?" I'm going, "What?" Like, not that I know of. I'm playing today, not that I know of. Anyway, didn't hear anything of it. But it's in the back of your mind, like, why are they talking about that on the coach? And I don't even know about it. So you play the game. End of the game, I was in the shower. Thought, well, Ray's not said anything to me, so, can't be much in it. I get in the shower, and then all of a sudden, Ray comes to the shower. "Oh, Webbs, can I have a word with you?"
This is Ray Lewington.
Ray Lewington. Yeah, Ray Lewington.
Yeah.
"Oh, Webbs, can you come see me in my office afterwards?" And I thought, all right, fair enough. I've not played that badly. I'm not going to be in for it or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'm okay. So we'll go to his office, and Ray was a bit weird because Ray's quite an emotional guy in a good way. You could see his empathy, and he got his emotions across to his players quite well. And he said, "Danny," he said, "Look," he said, Sheffield United have come in for you. I said, funny. I said, I heard that off the Preston lads before the game. He says, I don't want to sell you. He says, but the way I was bought by Watford at the time was by outside investors. So, because
it wasn't the Potsos, was it?
No, way before the Potsos. So if you remember when the ITV digital crash happened in the Championship, ITV pulled all the money out, which meant Watford had a lot of people on big wages, but it wasn't sustainable once the TV money had disappeared. Right. So to continue, there were fans at the time who had a bit of money who said, right, okay, well, we'll help buy him and him and him. And I was one of those hims. So it was almost a time, well, listen, the investors have, you've started off the season quite well. You've scored, 13 goals or whatever it is at this point. The investors want their money back. He said, I don't want to sell you. So I was like, right. And I was dead happy. I was just enjoying my football, enjoying being at Watford. And then he said, well, we've given Neil Warnock your number, and you can have a chat with him. So I left a little bit deflated, really, because I was really just starting to enjoy my football, and I loved where I was. But at the same time, I thought, okay, well, let's have a look. And because it was Neil, I thought, I can't go there. So I spoke to a few people in the game, spoke to my agent at the time, and he said, well, we may as well go and have a talk to him. So this number kept popping up on the phone, and I just knew it was Neil. It kept popping up, and I thought, I didn't answer it. All Saturday night didn't answer. All Sunday didn't answer. Then on the Monday, I went to training at Watford, and Ray was like, have you spoken to him yet? And I said, oh, no, I've not spoken to him yet. So he rang me, and I answered. He left his voicemail. Neil's voicemail was to the effect of, hi, Danny, listen, come on, son, can you give me a call back, please? He said, I'm not as bad as people think, that kind of thing. And I thought, just because of the humour of it, and you know what, I'm not rude, while I was sat in my comfort zone, I thought, right, I'll go and speak to him. I'm kind of being shown the door here. That's how it goes. So I think it's the Tuesday or something, or the Wednesday, the lads were off, all the Sheffield United lads were off, and I went down to the training ground to meet Neil. Obviously met him at the ground first. It was deadline day, or around there. And I remember speaking to Neil, and all I could think of was what certain other players had told me. Don't go there, Webb. Don't go there. Flipping heck. He's got, at the time, he had Andy Gray, he had Cabs, he had David Johnson, he had Tommy Johnson, he had Paul Shaw. There's 5 just off the bat, that I can think of. And there was Ashley Ward. There was a lot of strikers there. And I'm thinking, why would I go and, I don't know, why would I go and be one of 7 strikers when I'm, me and Heider Helgeson had a good partnership at Watford? Anyway, I went to listen because I felt, I should out the door. Really thinking, right, I'll just go to Sheffield and hear him out of courtesy, and I'll go back and just say, I'm not leaving Watford. What can you do? I'm under contract kind of thing. That was where I was at. Yeah. The moment I came to Bramall Lane, you just, I'm quite a gut feeling kind of person. I just got a good feel about the place, and I thought, I quite like this. But I still obviously wanted to hear from Neil and what his ambitions were, because, I had a year left Man United, and decided that I wanted to get back to playing the Premier League if I could. You're trying to test yourself. You're in that frame of mind where you're charging forward, trying to see where you actually sit in the football pyramid. So we went around the training ground. Showed me around. I thought, this is nice. People were great. I love the humility of the place. I really, I'm from humble background, but I just love the humility of the place. I like the fact it was a working environment. There was no airs or graces about people, which was me. But that didn't seal it all by itself. We then went to, where we were at Bramall Lane, and he said, come on, Webbs, we'll go and I'll show you the stadium. So we sat in the dugout. At that point, we must have been there half an hour, 40 minutes while Terry Robinson spoke with my agent and so on. We've been about 40 minutes, and I wanted to hear from him. I needed to hear certain things from him to convince me that I should make the jump. And
like probably, what, for example?
Yeah, well, about his ambition. Okay. I didn't want to be, one of these collected strikers that he just puts on the mantelpiece and yeah, you know what I mean? I had an image that would be like one of his figurines. I've got another one. Loads of strikers, that there's another one. I'll go home to Sharon and say, I've got another one, Sharon. So no, I needed to hear his ambition. I needed to hear what direction he was going. I think it helped that, there was lads that I knew, like Jags and Tongi, who were probably the two that I knew more, Jags especially, that I knew at the time and played with him for England. So it helped, those things. But we sat in the dugout, and I think within 5 minutes I knew he was desperate to get back to the Premier League. It was like, and our ambitions matched. We both had probably, to that point, he'd fallen short a numerous amount of times, wanted to get the jigsaw correct to get promoted. I was on that where I'd probably fallen short of Man United, started to rebuild back at Watford and wanted to get back to the Premier League. And I think I had something in me that wanted to prove I could get back to the Premier League, because I turned down a 3-year contract from Sir Alex at the time to leave. And I thought, is that the right thing or not? But I'd done it. So when I sat with him, it was just like, you know what, it works. It works. And I said, I raised the questions. I said, well, why have you got, so many strikers? And, where do I fit into that? And he said, listen, son, he said, I'm having a, if we don't get up this year, he said, I'm making a push this year. And we were late on and almost in the playoffs, if you remember rightly. We got beat by Millwall, I think. It was a horrible game. So that was it. That was part of the loan spell. But I just remember thinking, okay. And I think the one saving grace is that I came in on loan, because I thought if I come in on loan and I don't play, or I don't see any signs of playing, then I can always go somewhere else, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
That was the little thing, because the only niggle was the amount of strikers. After hearing him, his ambition was clear. He wanted to sign me. Whatever number on the list I was, it didn't matter to me. I knew my ambitions and where I wanted to be. So I think I set off. First game I think we played QPR. I played QPR at home. That was my first home game.
Yeah.
But my first, my debut was Leeds.
Full debut was Leeds, wasn't it?
Full debut, was Leeds, yeah. And I set off in the fashion I wanted to, and I thought, okay, I'm enjoying the football. Great group of lads. Started to get to know the lads. Really, really, this feels like the right place for me. And because I'd scored a few and had a few goodish, semi-good performances on my loan spell, bearing in mind the summer, it wasn't sealed at that point. I then had a couple of clubs come in the summer who I had a choice to make, but I'd already felt it was right. I was closer to home as well, which is an hour from Manchester. And I remember my agent coming to me and go, right, this club, and this club have come in as well. And I just said, it's all right, I'm going to go Sheffield United. And it just felt right. I knew it was right at the time. And that's the long-winded way of it coming around.
Well, was it slightly different for you? I take on board exactly what you've said about being part of a big group of strikers, but you could also come in off the wing as well, couldn't you? You've got that kind of string to your bow if necessary. So the other strikers you mentioned are pretty much out-and-out strikers. If push came to shove, you could go wide as well.
Yeah, no, I could play.
Maybe increase your chances of playing a bit more. I don't know.
I didn't want it to, because I'd fought in my own head so long. Like, I'd grown up at Man United as a striker. Never been shoved out on the wing. The way United played, you didn't need size or presence to be a centre forward. And then I went to Watford. The odd time I'd get put out on the wing, and it made me tighten up. I don't want to be a winger, because you're quick, you got a bit of trickery, and you can cross. People, put him out on the wing. I used to think, no, the only reason I know what to do on the wing is because I know what I want when I'm in the middle. Do you know what I mean? I know where I want the ball and that kind of thing. So I didn't want to be a winger. I was against it, and I told Neil that at the time. I said I don't want to play on the wing. So it wasn't a plus point for me at 22 years old. It was no, don't do that to me. You know what I mean? But I did end up playing the odd game. Neil had a way of going, can you just play that one game for me on the wing? Just the one, son, just the one. Oh, yeah, all right, yeah, I'll do it for the team. You end up playing there 3 or 4 games, and you end up knocking his door, going, Gaffer, I'm not a winger, you know that. Just don't keep me out on the wing. And you've got ships and cabs who are playing well up top, and you think it's the only way I'm the team at the moment. So, well, no, I didn't see it as a plus at the time, although probably now it was another string to my bow. Yeah.
I mean, it's a great start for you, scoring at Leeds. What was it, 93 seconds or something like that it took you to score. And, Sheffield United against Leeds at the best of times is always a big game. But I was there that night, and I just got the impression it felt bigger because it was Neil against Kevin. It might have been the first time they'd come up against each other. I'm not entirely sure. But because that was there, the magnitude of the game felt bigger, and you could see it in Neil's celebrations, couldn't you?
Well, I felt it before the game, as you say. For me, one, it was my debut, full debut. I was told I was playing. I think he pulled lids out of the team from Saturday, and then he put me in. And I remember him sort of saying to me, first day of training actually, and what was really sort of gave me a lot of confidence. He went, "Webbs, I don't know what you do, son, just do it." And I thought that for me was amazing, because it gave me all the creative freedom to go and do what I wanted to do. So the game came round and he said, "Listen, Jags, come here, Tongi, listen, you can play with Webbs, get your link-ups going, and, we're really going to have a go at them tonight." But I didn't even know Kevin Blackwell at the time. I didn't know the history. And it wasn't until, I think, Cozzy said something in the dressing room, and, relating to Blackie, he said, "I've been texting Blackie, I've been telling him that we're going to beat him and all this kind of stuff." And I was like, "Who's Blackie?" And he said, "Oh, it's Neil's assistant who's now took the job." I'm right, get it. So you sort of, at that age, you're so engrossed in what you're trying to achieve, you don't really look at from the outside in. So obviously they'd given, I think it was Simon Walton, his debut as well, as a 17-year-old or 18-year-old, or he was just got in the team. Yeah. And I just remember picking up the ball on the left-hand side and just thinking positive, drive at him, run at him, And I think I skipped one or two, and then Kilgallen at the end, who obviously ended up playing for us. Yeah. And put it in the bottom corner. And I think that was probably the catalyst to me not being one of 8 or 9 strikers, because Neil was quite emotional about certain things, that if you've done something like that for him, like scored and he's won and you've got a good feeling attached to you, then you kind of had a little bit more time and you had to reproduce those feelings. Let's not get it twisted. But I think that was the best way I could have started at Sheffield United, and also for me to bed in with the lads as well, to show them that I was part of the group and wanted to work hard, and I wanted to do well.
I guess it adds more pressure though when he's got so many strikers to pick from, for you to perform week in, week out, to make sure you keep that place. And let's be honest, you didn't always keep your place, regardless of how you'd done the week before, because for Neil at times it was horses for courses, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I think I always wanted to play with Cabs. I thought me and Cabs up top, we used to love training, we'd love playing with each other. We loved playing with Ships as well, but me and Cabs were very close off the pitch, we were very close. We wanted to play together on the pitch, we thought we could. Neil said to us at the very beginning, he said, "You two can't play together." Me and Cabs were like, "What? How do you mean we can't play together?" No, you're too similar, you can't play together. But what I look back, and I think it was probably one of the best bits of psychology he could have done. Every time we got on the pitch, we were desperate to do well with each other. Yeah. So he put us on at the end of the game, where we were trying to do something. Whoever had started on the bench, he'd put whichever one was on at the end, and we'd try our balls off to make sure that we made an impact. So we left an impression on him. But I looked at the one side. I think you've got to be very single-minded, and I looked at all the strikers, and they were all people that I'd seen growing up, and had a lot of respect for as well. But you've got to be so single-minded. I just thought, right, I'm in, keep hold of the shirt as long as you can, do the best, as long as you're scoring or contributing. You're I was a little bit different in style to most of them, apart from Cabs probably. So I thought I'll be okay. And then obviously Neil said he's having a clear out in the summer and he want me to be a part of the following season and that kind of thing. So it gives you an inkling as to what direction he's looking to go in, really.
Yeah, and I think you beat Leicester on the opening day of the following campaign, if I'm right, at home. Was it 4-1, something like that?
Bromby scored.
Yeah, he did. I think Paul Eiffel might have scored as well, if memory serves me. It's a long time ago now.
4-0 we won, didn't we?
Was it 4-0? Yeah.
4-0, if I remember rightly, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I was speaking to Chris Morgan not so long back, and he said after that game that Rob Kozlik had said, we can go up at the end of the season. And he said, what, after one game, he said, I've just got a feeling. And obviously it turned out that way. Do you remember that at all? Or?
Clearly. So, I mean, they were a tight-knit group of lads, so Cos would be on the bus and he just went, we're up, lads. We're up, mate, in his voice. And I think there was three things. One, Neil had said at the beginning, at the end of the season where we didn't go up, he said, I'm going to bring in a group of lads that are going to get promoted next season. So that set the intention with everybody. Then he reiterated that when we all came in on the first day. Then we went to China pre-season
do.
Yeah, we did a few. We did like about 8 or 9 flights in 12 days. It was carnage. It was crazy. But we like lads were going down with food poisoning. You know, I hurt my groin, and different things were happening to different lads. Andy Gray just was like, I need to go home. The time difference, the food, and everything. So he left, and then shortly after, obviously he left, and ships came in.
Yeah.
But it was just like the games weren't great. The pitches we were training on were like cow fields, and we were like, come on, what? We're trying to get promoted. But I remember a conversation that Stuart McCall had with us, and we were doing a training session. He stopped the session and he went, listen, what this? Nah, not having it, rubbish. He said, we're trying to get promoted. So any of you that think this is a mess about, just go. Just get out of the, leave right now kind of thing, because you're not taking it as serious as you should be. We are getting promoted this season. So the message was clear from Neil, obviously backed up by Stuart McCall. And then Cozzy, after the first game of the season, as you say, was like, he said, lads, we're up. And then all the time he just kept going, we're up, mate, we're up, mate. And the funniest thing was he's texting Blackie all the way through the season, going, oh yeah, you've got beat, we're up, you're not going to catch us, and all this kind of stuff all the way through the season.
Wow.
Cozzy was always, put a smile on everybody's face regardless, win, lose or draw. But I remember it clearly, yeah.
You mentioned about the group of lads. I mean, you've got some great characters in that dressing room. Kozlik obviously being one, Morgan, Bromby, Jagielka. I'm just looking at the list here. John Harley was there. Yeah. Latterly, Chris Short came along.
Craig Short.
David Unsworth.
Yeah, Monty.
Yeah. Monty, yeah. I mean, some great players there, great characters.
And I think that was ultimately why we got promoted. It wasn't necessarily that we were the best footballing team. Or the best players pound for pound, but we had a togetherness. I knew I'd look on the pitch at certain people and I think, glad you're in my team, glad you're in my team, glad you're in my team. The spine of the team was strong. There was, I looked at Morgs, always solid, always dependable. So when Jags, who played centre mid at the time, would always deliver. Tongi was playing good football. Ships was consistent in everything, so you knew what you were going to get off Ships. That was the spine. And then, as you say, Chris Stretch, who played left back.
Yeah, Chris Armstrong, yeah.
He was consistent week in, week out. Delgiri, Broms, everybody played the part. But I think the tight-knit, Monty was like an unsung hero. Often, people don't give Monty the credit sometimes because he wasn't a flair player, but to have him in your team and to annoy the opposition in the way that he did, but then know how to transition with the ball. And I thought Monty was great for us, and with the influence. The competition that was created was not too many people, but there was enough competition. I remember I got injured on the second or third game of the season, and Cabs was in. Cabs scored about 7 or 8 goals off the bat, and I sat there going, well, what do I do? And then he brought in Vincent Pericard and me. Remember, me Vincent was like, yeah, exactly. So he said to me and Vincent, like, Cabs and Ships have been flying. We went away to Millwall, probably I'd say 8 or 9 games in, and we trained went down the night before, woke up in the hotel and trained on the local park, and just like they went through the motions, get the legs going and stuff on the day of the game. He said, look, Webbs, he said, you and Vincent are going to be starting up front. Played 4-4-2 at the time, didn't we? Yeah. So he said, you and Vincent are going to be up front. He says, it's up to you to show me that why you should be in the team. So it's like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And you set off with a laser focus to make sure that this is your opportunity and you score goals and do what you're doing. We won 4-0 that night, I think. I scored 2. Yeah. One from outside in 2. Played really well. I remember Cabs coming to me afterwards, because me and Cabs would always speak freely even though we were competing. And he'd go, flipping that way. It's like, you've done me a treat there. You're going to be back in Saturday. I went, to be honest, I'd love to be, but I don't know.
You never know.
Often through the season, me and Cabs, like, we go in and see the gaffer, and he'd go, I'm going in to see the gaffer. I knew him going in to see the gaffer meant that he was trying to, get in, and he deserved to be in, but he did deserve to be in because of the way every time he came in, he played. And I would do the same, and I'd say, I'm going to go and see the gaffer. So you go in and see the gaffer, and you'd, and your sort of wording would be, look, Gaffer, I'm doing everything. Every time I get on, I scored at the end of that game. I'm I'm doing everything I can to be playing. I think I should be in the team. Not at the expense of ships or cabs, but I think I'm doing enough to get in the team. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way we both kind of probably worded it. Because I wanted cabs to do well, and I wanted to do well, I wanted ships to do well. And I think that goes full circle within the whole team, that everybody wanted everybody to do well. And that was what carries you through. When you have your rough patches through the season, that the lads can all get together and just dig through the trenches. And I think we did that at times where we weren't playing well, but we managed to dig out certain results.
And of course, you clinched it pretty much anyway at Cardiff. Again, I was there. And it's funny because that goal you scored at Cardiff, in some respects, was a little bit similar to the one you scored at Leeds. Again, out on the left, I think, and weaving in and scoring, if memory serves me. Yeah,
it was similar. I think the Cardiff one's...
Probably further out, though. You got the ball further out, I think, maybe, on that Cardiff one.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah, more towards the halfway line.
Yeah.
Cameron Jerome assist it was. But no, I think the Cardiff one, for me, we'd had a rocky patch prior to the game. We just needed to get results to get over the line. I think we played Hull on the Saturday and Unzi had scored and we'd won 3-2. Yeah. And the week before or whatever it was, and we were just trying to get over the line. And Cardiff game came, it was a sweltering day, if I remember, it was boiling. And I'm playing, I remember up against Darren Pearce, and Darren Pearce gave me, sorry, I didn't know, was it? Darren Pearce gave me a dig early on, and I remember I could feel it the whole game, getting on with it anyway, as you do. But nothing was working for me. And I think I was trying so hard to make it work, because I'm thinking, come on, we've got to get over the line, and you take all the responsibility on your shoulders, that everything wasn't working. So Cabs came, late on in the second half, Cabs comes on again, so it's me, Ships and Cabs on the pitch, if I remember rightly. Cabs cuts the ball back for me, and I put one over the bar. And I remember at the time thinking, oh my God, what are you doing? That's it. It was the most basic chance. You've leant back, you've done everything wrong. But okay, get your head straight, because the game's still going on. But Neil Cox, who I'd played with at Watford, who now moved to Cardiff. I knew Coxie well. Coxie was playing the centre half for Cardiff on the day. Coxie pulls me and he says, "You know what, Webbs?" He said, "You know you've just blown Sheffield United promotion, don't you? Oh. You know you've just blown it." And he was like that, give you a bit of banter. He said, and all the time he kept going, "Just blown it, Webbs. I can't believe you've just blown that." So I'm like, I pick up the ball, for the goal. I pick up the ball on the left-hand side and I go running at the right back, and I lost the ball again. I was so determined and I lost the ball again. I remember getting myself, and you probably see it in the video, I get up and I sort of dust myself off, and then before I have time to think, so I wasn't even in my thinking sort of thing, the ball came to me from Cameron Jerome, because they won it back because I'd lost it, Cardiff. Ball went up to Cameron Jerome on the halfway line, and he just laid it into my path because he missed his midfielder when he laid it off. I didn't have time to think. I just ran. The space was there. And I looked up, and in the moment I thought, this is Coxie. And everything in my head was like, all right. Remember what he said. It's all going through my head in one way, the determination to score. And I always remember, because obviously I've been in that situation lots of times in training with Watford, running at Coxie. So it's familiar to you as what you're running at somebody. Certain people will just smash you. Certain, like Morgs, if I played against Morgs would just, he'd come and he didn't want to run with you, so he's going to smash you. Whatever happens, take the yellow, whatever. But Coxie would back off. And I remember thinking, okay, and with every touch I'm taking, he's backing off and he's backing off. When I got him just in the box, I thought, he can't tackle me now. It all goes through your head at 1,000,000 miles an hour, but you know that. And I just used him as a guide. I remember thinking, the far post's open, and I side-footed it and managed to get enough curl on it just to nestle it in the bottom corner. And that was if you go through the whole game, that was probably the only thing I did that had any value in it. The rest of it was flipping not great. And then you can probably tell by the relief in my celebration, I ran down the line, high-fived Neil, which I got a bit stick for as well. Oh, so, high-fiving the gaffer, are you? Do you know what I mean?
Teacher's pet.
Yeah, exactly. Although that was Jags. Jags was always teacher's pet. But yeah, so we got high-fived the gaffer and then celebrated with the lads. But it was like a release of, you know what, let's get to the end of the game. That could be really important. And then the biggest thing for me was going over to the fans at the end of the game, and I could just tell they knew, we all kind of knew that was us virtually pushed over the line. We're just waiting for the result, that Leeds result the following day. It was huge. I can feel the emotion now as I talk about it. It was massive, massive.
And in terms of your career, is that possibly the biggest goal, most important goal you've scored? I don't know, is it?
I think it's the magnitude of it. Yeah, I think it's the most important, not the best by any stretch, but the most important is to, when you're in a situation of pressure and it means so much to so many people, that you manage to help out your teammates and get yourself pull your teammates through, as they've done with you so many times in the season.
Yeah. And obviously you were then forced to watch the Leeds game the day after, which is funny because, as we've just seen recently, Sheffield United pretty much did the job at Bramall Lane, and again they had to watch the Leeds game later on the day after. What was that like as an experience, just waiting for that result to come in? They were playing Reading, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. It was amazing. So at the time I lived in town in a flat, so it was literally equidistant between the training ground and the ground. Some of the lads, we'd all said, if we go up, we'll all meet at the training ground and we'll grab a few beers, whatever, celebrate there. And the result came in, and I just remember my phone blowing up, different lads going, well, buzzing, Jags, and everybody just cabs. We was all going, we've done it. Right, we'll be at the training ground. I literally jumped in the shower as quick as I could, and I was at the training ground, and we just celebrated from there on in. There was local fans there, certain people who worked at the club, and it just was all part of the big reason as to why I joined the club, was sort of epitomised in that moment, that humility of it, hard work, and everybody coming together. It was a massive feeling to know that you'd achieve what you set out to do, because you got to look at most teams when you go into the season, you want to achieve something, but most end up just repeating the same thing next season. Not everybody can get promoted, and I think the fact that we'd had a little wobble and there was little things that had happened through the season, like Neil was touted to go to Leicester at one point, and we had a little wobble. And we had to go away and beat Leicester on the night we played Leicester. So I'm probably talking for 2 months prior to this, a month and a half prior, was actually getting promoted. We're having a little wobble. Leeds were flying. But we went to Leicester, and Neil pulled us all before the game. He said, look, I know the speculation about me coming. I'm not going. I'm here, and we're going to get the job done. So we were like, right, okay. And I think I scored that night, and we won 1-0. But little moments like that where we had a wobble 1 or 2 games prior because we didn't know whether Neil was going to leave us, and that would have unsettled the ship at the time.
And obviously you got the job done, and then you go into the Premier League, which is obviously where you wanted to get back to.
Yeah. How
do you reflect on that season?
I think it was...
On a personal note.
On a personal note, not what I set out to achieve. Disappointing ending, without a shadow of a doubt, but it started off not too badly. Obviously, we drew 1-1 with Liverpool, started that game.
Should have won that game. Never a pen.
No. I remember Steven Gerrard went by me and I sort of went like that to not foul him, and goes through and gets the pen, and we were like, really?
Yeah. So,
we should have won that game, I agree. I think my Chelsea missed penalty, and I go back to the week. I think the week before, or a few weeks before, we played Man United, and I was injured and I didn't play. And in the before the game, I spoke to Sir Alex and Neil Warnock in the office. Sir Alex had asked for me, and I'd come and gone to the dressing room, and he said, "Keep doing what you're doing, son. Keep going, keep working hard. All the things that were required of you." And he said to me, "You've got Chelsea in a few weeks." He says, "You could do us all a favour. Get yourself a goal there, beat Chelsea," because they were in United and Chelsea were rivaling, weren't they?
Yeah.
So obviously Chelsea come. I get a penalty. Terrible penalty. Terrible. Great height for the goalkeeper. It was. I will say it was one of those moments where you overthink what you're going to do instead of trusting what you've done a million times and to do. And I put it at a great height for Hilario. It was in net as well. I wouldn't have even minded if it was Czech. But with all due respect, Hilario, it wasn't even Czech. With all due respect. But Hilario saved the penalty, and I just remember thinking, what are you doing? And I hadn't played that badly up until that point. But I will say the highlights were scoring away at Newcastle, first away win.
That was first away league goal, I think, in the Premier League.
Yeah, it was. Monty pulled the ball out of nowhere. It was like Pirlo on that ball. And then, I'd had flu leading up to that game all week. Neil had said by Thursday, "You all right?" I said, "Listen, I'll be fine. And I remember getting as much fluids and that on board. And shortly after the goal, I just blew a gasket and he pulled me off. But we managed to, again, as a team, pull that one through and get a good result. It was interesting, but the dressing room dynamics had changed a little bit when we got to the Premier League. We used to, so if you remember Shirecliffe, where we had 2 dressing rooms.
Yeah.
So you go in, there's 2 on the right hand side.
Mm-hmm.
There's not anymore, there's only one big one, but there was 2 dressing rooms at the time. And when we had hit a bit of a sticky patch in the Premier League, we'd gone away for international break and come back, and Neil had the wall smashed through and said, "Look, there seems to be some kind of divide in the dressing room, not having it. Everybody's in this together now." So obviously numerous different characters come in, don't they? And it just changes the dynamics for better or worse in some cases. And we didn't have exactly the same chemistry as we did in the Championship. I think it's probably fair to say. But we did everything we could to stay in the Premier League. And the worst moment, without a shadow of a doubt, was the final day of the season, where I obviously go through clean on goal, stab it over Mike Pollitt, and it rolls across the goal. And I think the annoying thing is, they're the margins. They're the margins of, people talk about your fine margins all the time, coaches do, and that was the margin of, you're either staying in the Premier League or you're not. And I know it doesn't all boil down to that moment, but if you were going to look at one particular moment, that would be one of them where you go, "Oh my God," And then the fact that we get relegated, and West Ham have fielded players that were, Mascherano and Tevez that were ineligible or shouldn't have played, and then we go down by, Tevez is the one who scores the goal at Old Trafford, Unzi's the one who scores the penalty, all those little things that compile that you just think, wow, like really. And I was wounded from a personal point of view. I think I'd scored a handful of goals, not even, up until Christmas. And we played Middlesbrough away on New Year's Day. Freezing, I prepared right, done everything right. Probably one of my worst performances in a Blade shirt. And I just remember thinking, I was wrestling with the football. It was horrible. It was a weird feeling. Like, normally my touch was all right, and I was quite free flowing. I just felt heavy. I was wrestling with the ball. Nothing came off. I couldn't control it. And it's horrible because you feel when you're like that, you feel the groans of everybody, and you try even harder to make everybody happy again, if you get what I mean, to make everybody happy. So, it might not be the best way I'm putting it, but that's the way you feel on the pitch. And it just wasn't going right. So then Neil just almost says, "Come on, son, pull you out of your misery." But he's fuming because he knows you can do better. You know you can do better. But then you want to rectify it the following game, clear your head, sleep, go home and come next game. But then the next day we come in and he signed John Stead. So I was like, no problem. I've been here before. He signed a lot of strikers. Let's go. But you start to get the energy off him that he's not really, you're not really in his favour. Do you know what I mean? That's it. You start to get that energy. And as much as you're trying and you're working hard and you think in training, if I do it right, I'll get in. Just no, to the side. You're on the bench. Webbs, you're on the bench. Webbs, you're on the bench. Webbs, you're on the bench. But it wasn't Webbs, you're on the bench, and if I need you, I'll bring you on. It was almost Webbs, you're on the bench, and that's just where you can sit, just to be a number. And it felt that way, and it's a very different feeling to what I had the year before. Anyway, it's normal. It's football. He pulled me out from the cold against Man United, and I was buzzing with that because we went to Old Trafford, even though we got beat. That was the first time I'd been back to Old Trafford to play, and I wanted to do well. And performance was okay, but they were just much, much stronger than us, Ronaldo's and some top players in the time. So, but then it was like back out in the cold, and the reason I say this because that came full circle back to half time on the Wigan game, And obviously, Jags had done the handball in the first half, giving the penalty away. And we needed a goal. And what Neil came to me at half time, said, Webb, come on, I need you to get us out of it. I need, almost in a, like, we need something, please, can you do something? So when I go through on goal, I was thinking, I'll score. Not nonchalant, but I felt confident to score. And when I stabbed it over Mike Pollock, I felt I'd done the right thing. And you're talking, had it been that much different, it hits the post and goes in. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, like, but you can't sit there and dwell on, oh my God, at that moment in time. You've got to just get on with the game and get your head clear. And that's probably one of the biggest things as a striker. You've got to get your head clear as quick as possible. Miss a chance, it's gone. You can't do anything about it. Analyse it after the game, but there's nothing you can do about that particular moment there and then. But I just remember thinking, right, and you go about your campaign trying to make sure that you make amends again, because it means so much to you, it means more to the fans, as much, if not more to the fans. It's part of the culture, part of what they've been born into. I know that because I'm a Man United fan and I understand it. It's everything, and they're on the edge of their seat, can't impact it at all. So you're thinking, come on, make it right. And you start to replay certain things in your mind. Well, we did it at Cardiff. We've done it at, at certain, when your backs are against the wall, we can do it. You look around your team and you think we can do it. And unfortunately, that day it just wasn't to be. We just couldn't get the ball in the net. But that said, we were surprised that West Ham had been able to go to Man United and win 1-0. We were like, even if they'd have drawn, we'd have stayed up. So, all of those factors really made it a really disappointing end to the season. There were some good moments, and seeing Bramall Lane full all the time, and filled in the corner, and it was just a great atmosphere, and people coming to Bramall Lane. It was a superb atmosphere, but the ending just obviously took the shine off it. And for one thing, I will say is I'm glad that they're back in the Premier League now, and it's on firm footings again with everybody. Chris has done a superb job in the same way that his ethics are very much aligned with Neil's. And when I say that, I just mean it's a people's football club. Everybody comes together. There's a humility about it, and that the people that he brings in have got that. First and foremost, I'm going to graft for my mate mentality, and that's before when you're a good person off the pitch. And I think add good footballers to that, you then get a remedy for success. And I think that's what's going on at the moment. So I will say it's been a long time coming, but I'm glad that they're back where they are.
Because you played for the Blades more than anybody else throughout your career, I think. Do you still feel that sense of attachment to the club? 100%.
I have a lot of, football's an emotional game, and that, whether that's good or bad emotion, football's an emotional game, and you relive moments like that. And that's part of my life is being at Sheffield United. So part of my experience being able to impart when people ask me questions is good and bad at Sheffield United. And, not everybody has good. There's also always bad.
Sure.
But you have to, Sheffield United will always be a part of me. I go back to Bramall Lane now and I still love it. I still get a feeling, it was home. It was just home. I felt so at home there through my mid-20s. And again, you go through the rough and the smooth, and you go through it with, the thing is, I think the fact you go through it with the fans, you go through it with the club, and it's so tight-knit, as I've mentioned a few times, that it's an emotion. Yeah, it's definitely still got emotion attached to the club, no problem with that.
You later played for Neil again at Leeds, didn't you? I think you'd had a trial whilst he was QPR manager.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that worked out, but obviously you linked back up with him at Leeds, and then obviously Salford, which, was the back end of your career, but also interesting because of the high profile owners that you had there. Just quickly tell us about those experiences. Yeah, well, first and foremost, obviously I left Sheffield United after 4 years, and I wasn't expecting to leave, but the way I left wasn't the best, in fairness. I think the writing was probably on the wall from when Blackie came in, because I get along with Blackie, no worries, but I think we just didn't mesh together as player and manager. From the first day he came in, and we sort of did a little rondo, a box, and he was like, no flicks, no, not having any of that. And it
took some of my creative freedom away, and he played me on the wing a lot. I think some of it was to tell me where he wanted me to run and what he wanted me to do and stuff, and that just didn't really work with me very well. So that aside, I went to Portsmouth, had 2 years at Portsmouth, and at the end of that year at Tottenham, I was playing against Tottenham, and I did my cruise ship, so I had the 11 months out after that. At the end of that, I left Portsmouth on a free, and I went to QPR. Did pre-season with QPR, got offered a contract, and then I got injured, so the contract got removed. So I then spent 6 or 7 months trying to rebuild myself and get myself right again. And injuries were now starting to bug me a little bit.
Yeah.
Neil then got the job at Leeds, and I was his first signing at Leeds. Again, if you ask any Leeds fan, I was probably one of their least memorable strikers over the years. And I'm not. It's the truth. Scored 1 goal final day at Leicester, but just wasn't fit enough, wasn't good enough. And that's the reality of it. Left there, and I had a year out because I'd done my knee on the final day, and I just had a year out of football completely. And then I went to Accrington. Beats got the job. James Beattie got the job at Accrington, and was like, come on. Did a year at Accrington. Again, wasn't great. And in yourself, your best years are way behind you, but you still love football. So I did that year, and then I did pre-season at Walsall with Dean Smith and Richard O'Kelly, who obviously Villa managers now, Villa manager and assistant. And I'd done pre-season, thought I'd done quite well. Dean said to me, look, Webbs, you've done really well, but you've not scored a single goal. He said, I can't justify to the board that, to sign a striker who's not scored a goal pre-season. Get it, no problem. And on that day, I was already starting to look outside of the playing side of football. Excuse me. Looking at the media, looking at the agency side, looking at coaching, what's my next chapter? Is it in football? Is it not? That kind of thing. So BBC Radio Manchester had said, look, will you come and do some co-commentary with us? Obviously, the class of 92 have bought Salford. They've put a team together that they've, acquired over the summer. But the class of 92 are going to play against Salford. So I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll come and do the commentary on that. Didn't think much of it. So I'd leave Walsall and go straight back to Manchester, pack my kit up, get everything in the boot, go back to Manchester. The class of 92, obviously, were playing against Salford, and they had 1 or 2 celebrities in there, like Jack Whitehall and Michael Vaughan and a few people, and they had Robbie Savage playing up front and 1 or 2 others. But the team they'd assembled, the Salford team, was running them ragged. Purely because I think age played a big part, and fitness and that kind of thing. Yeah. So at half-time, I went to get a cup of tea, and the dressing room door opens. Gary, Brian, Russell, Webbs, what are you doing? I said, I'm just going to go and get a cup of tea. They're like, forget your cup of tea. Will you come and play for us in the second half? So we need somebody up front against us. And I went, yeah, you know what? Let me see if I've got any boots in my car. And I thought I did, because I just left Walsall. So I get the boots out of my car, go and play probably half an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour. And then it was just by sheer chance that obviously that happened. And then in the shower afterwards, Gary and Scholesy were like, Webbs, do you want to play? Will you play for Salford next year? And I was like battling with myself going, really? Like, I've just left Walsall today. Like, where am I going with my career? Like, where am I at? And they said, look, have a think about it. I said, right, I'll think about it. The next morning, couldn't have been past 6 o'clock, Gary Neville texted me, Webbs, have you thought about Salford? I barely had 3 hours sleep. You know what I mean? But I just spoke to him, and I liked the fact it was pretty much like when I sat with Neil, and you like the ambition of what somebody's trying to achieve, and you know that they're a doer and they're going to go and do it. And he said, listen, come down. If you like it, brilliant. If you don't, walk away. No problem. I said, all right. So I went down training the first night. Lads, I've come down, protein shake, water, everything. Lads have all, 1 or 2 of them just finished work. I've been entertaining clients, few have had a drink. And it was just like, I talk about humility of the Sheffield United, but I loved that real factor. Yeah. The real factor. The lads were great. And I just basically said, you know what, let's do it. Didn't even hesitate. I said, let's go. So jumped on board, knowing full well if I didn't like it, I could walk away any minute. I didn't want to. I set off on a mission to achieve something, and we got 2 promotions at Salford in 2 seasons, and it just set the ball rolling. And I just thought it was great for me to transition out the game on the rise as opposed to just dwindling out. So in my head, I weaned myself off, went part-time, and managed to transition into other things, which, you know, finds me where I am today.
Yeah, so you're a football agent now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Enjoying that?
I enjoy most aspects of it. Yeah, I enjoy most aspects of it. I see it as, you know, when you're a player, you've got you've got like competitive blood in you, you know. That's how I exercise it now. And when I say that, I don't mean it's not cutthroat. It's not, or it doesn't need to be all of that. There's a big stigma attached to agents. You know, there always is. And I was one of those people who was like, agents, don't know about that. So I pushed it away for a while. But there are some good agents, you know. I'd probably say 20% out there are doing a good job for people. And I just think there's a space for people that want to do the right work for people. And it's that sometimes is, you know, helping a player when he's struggling. It's sometimes keep helping players stay at the top. Sometimes getting your gloves on and fighting for players when they don't know how to do it for themselves, you know. There's so many different aspects to it. I enjoy it. I don't work with a lot of people. I don't want to. I think it can be saturated if you work with. If I personally looked after 30 players, I couldn't do it. You understand? So I keep it how I want to keep it, so I can give value to the people that I help on their journey. Really.
Well, listen, I'm going to let you go because I know you've got 4 little ones who probably need a bit of homeschooling. I've got 2 of my own who need a bit of homeschooling as well. But it's been a lovely break, and it's been great to chat to you again after so long. And all I can say is thank you very much indeed for your time, Danny, and I wish you every success in your new venture going forward. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Paul. And you know what? I've loved it. Loved reminiscing over the good and bad at Sheffield United. And I'll see you down at Bramall Lane soon, mate.
Absolutely. Thanks ever so much. Cheers.
Hey, thank you, mate.